What's going on, everybody? It's Kevin here from Stock Hours, and today what we're going to be doing is bringing you guys a video on the best trading indicators that are going to help you identify successful breakouts. These indicators are going to be a big game changer for those of you who identify struggling with levels to play breakouts. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the video. Alright, so you guys might be asking, what indicators am I talking about? Alright, so we will go over that really quickly. First of all, I'm just going to add these to the chart real quick. So one of the biggest indicators that is super useful is the ATR. And then the next one is going to be the volume profile. These two are super useful when identifying breakout areas and just having the general knowledge of what it takes to play a breakout successfully. Alright, so starting off with the ATR. Right? Why is the ATR so important? You guys may see it's just a line like wiggling up and down, and you might have no idea what it does. Right? So the way that we can use ATR is to see how much a stock moves on average on a given day or on the given time frame you're on, right? So for example, right here I'm on the daily time frame, and what the ATR is telling me is that the stock is capable of moving $22 each day. Right? So each of these candles on average on the daily time frame moves around $22. Now the stock is Tesla, as you guys can see, but you guys can see if I move over down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that per each 4 hours, the stock is only capable of moving roughly $12 to $13, right? And that's super important to us because if we're playing the open mainly between 9:30 to 11 a.m., then we need to pay attention to how much the stock is moving at the open between 9:30 and 11, right? So take it today, for example, right? If I measure from the low of the day to the high of the day, Tesla has already moved $12, right? This is from 9:30 all the way to 10:55 at the time of this recording, right? You can see using the 4-hour time frame, Tesla already made its average move within the opening range, right? So Tesla made a $12 move, and what are we going to do now for the rest of the day? Looks like we're just going to get some consolidation until power hour or some news event or whatever comes out, right? Then maybe we can jump to the upside or stay in consolidation or just drop to the downside, right? All of those are possible scenarios that could happen, right? So the ATR is super useful for that, right? It helps you identify how much the stock is capable of moving on average per day, right? So let's just say, for example, I wanted to play the 593 break on Meta, right? And currently where we're sitting at is 506, right? If I'm looking at the 4-hour ATR, Meta is only capable of moving $18 each 4 hours, right? So if I'm trading strictly just the open, if I take the pre-market high or like wherever the current price is right now, and I measure it out, and let's just say, like I said earlier, I want to play 593 on Meta, that's $86 away, right? So if it's $86 away, and I know this is a super exaggerating example, but if it's $86 away, I'm not going to bother putting it on my watch list because most likely Meta is not going to get there during the open, right? So that's how the ATR can help you in that way when identifying what levels or what breakout areas you want to put on your watch list for the day. So that's basically everything about ATR. The next indicator I want to talk about is the volume profile. Now, the volume profile, I know it looks a little confusing if you're just looking at it for the first time, but basically what this is telling you, each spike in volume is telling you how much this area of price has been traded in, right? So at what price point do we have the most transactions? And this is super important to identifying key levels for breakouts, because if you're trading in the middle of the areas where there's a lot of trading activity, most likely you're going to have to fight between investors trying to play the breakout of the level or investors trying to play the rejections or bounces off of those levels, right? So that's super important because when we're playing breakouts, we usually want the smoothest move out of the breakout level. So paying attention to the volume profile, let's just say I have, let's actually go to Tesla. Tesla's a good example here. If you guys can look right here, I'm on the 1-hour 20-day. This is the time frame that I prefer to use, right? For the 1 hour, this is where I find most of my levels. But if you look right here, 217 was something I was willing to watch this morning, all right? Before we bounced, it was worth something keeping on watch. But unfortunately, it bounced, and, that's just what happened, right? But why 217? Because, first of all, 217 has been consolidating in this area for a little minute, right? So this is setting up for a nice consolidation break that I'm willing to play towards the downside, right? And if you look over here to the right on the volume profile, and I zoom out just a little bit, you can see, let me actually draw these out for you guys. These entire areas right here are insanely congested. Look at how much trading activity is going on in this zone, right? Also look at this right here. This zone right here, if you just base it off of the volume profile, you can see, look how much activity is being traded in these areas. So the best thing that you guys can do is look for setups that are forming outside of these heavily traded zones, right? Because when you get things like this, the 217 break, there's no major price action that's going to block your breakout from occurring, right? Because it's a fresher level. It hasn't been danced through in between and out as much as the other levels have, right? You can see right over here in this entire area, we're just chopping around. In this area, we're just chopping around as well. So the volume profile is super useful for that, right? So let me get rid of these boxes and let's go over an example that is a bad example. All right, so here's an example of like an area where you kind of want to avoid certain trades, right? Even though it may look like an A+ setup. Right over here on Microsoft, you guys can see that there is a flat top here, roughly around 373, around that area. And if you look over here to the right on the volume profile, if I just draw boxes just from the volume profile in the most congested areas, you can see it'll be like right around here and then like right around here, basically, right? So if we look and just drag these boxes out, you can see what's going on. These heavily traded zones are literally showing to you that you should be staying away from this, even though it looks like an A+ setup. Because look what's going on right here, right? We have a nice flat top, all right? We also have a 1 hour trend forming, and then look at this spike in the volume profile, right? It shows you that there's heavy trading activity going on in this 373 area, right? So if I saw this during the morning and I was making my pre-market watch list, this is something I would completely avoid because of the area that it's in. It looks very poor. Doesn't look good enough for me to have a nice smooth breakout. You usually want to take the trades that can give you the best breakouts so that you can make your money nice and quickly, right? As a breakout scalper. So these are the two indicators that are super useful, and I use these every single day. The managers at Stock Arrows also use them as well to identify areas of congestion. And yeah, it's just a super useful tool that you can use when you're identifying levels to trade. Now, the only time where I would avoid using the volume profile is when I'm trading on like the 1 minute time frame, the 5 minute, the 15 minute. I really don't care about those time frames. The only thing I care about is the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the 1 year, 1 day, and then the weekly time frame. Other than that, I don't really use the volume profile on anything else. And on the ATR, I just use it on the daily, the 4 hour, and the 1 hour. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you apply these indicators to your charts, and you guys can see how helpful it is to identify key levels to trade. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Stock Hours YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.